HowlSage, Sages of Darkness, Book 1. Written by Brock Eastman. Narrated by J.J. Battiston. Chapter 1. Sunday, October 1st. A bright green flash exploded across the screen, accompanied by the sharp pang of metal. Then a cloak darted across the live feed. "What is that thing?" I asked. We huddled around the screen, leaning in and trying to catch a better glimpse of what we were seeing. "Dad, what is that thing?" Mr. Swigert slid his silver-framed glasses up his nose. "He can't hear us. His earpiece is damaged." The image from my dad's body camera jerked up and down. Labored breathing echoed over the speakers. I leaned closer to the monitor. "Where is he now?" "Last triangulation put him in tunnel K56, section 91, Mr. Swigert said. "If you can... me," my dad said, the transmission cutting out. "I'm not... what... is... appears to... but I've not..." The screen flashed as my dad deflected another strike. Clank! Dad twisted, and the video bounced as he sparred. An unearthly screech sent shivers over me. Dad backed away, his weapon before him. His opponents stood disarmed. Their image was grainy and cast in shadow, their face hidden beneath a hood. The assailant bumped against the rock wall behind them. "What? You?" asked my dad. A wheezy laugh filled the tunnel. "What are you called, demon?" Dad asked again. Its lips curled back to reveal teeth, shining bright green in the night vision. "Then, gone in the name..." The video feed jerked again. A glimpse of a scaly arm and torso shot across the screen, and the camera went black. "Dad!" I cried. As I gasped for air, my eyes burst open. A dream. My chest heaved, sweat soaked my white V-neck t-shirt. Embers crackled in the hearth. I'd fallen asleep in the blue wing-backed chair in my room. It wasn't the first time since my dad's death that I'd had this nightmare, the memory of his last moments alive. "Don't cry. You're stronger than that." I stared into the burning coals. My stomach ached, and my shoulders felt tense. Anxiety consumed me like a beast with cornered prey. My heart thumped. My mind felt numb, and it felt as though, at any moment, I'd succumb and be forever stuck in this nightmare. The last 2 weeks had been nothing but training, and now the day of rising was almost here. After dinner, I had gone to my room to prepare, but I'd fallen asleep. Instead of getting ready for a deathmatch fight with a demon, usually involving sword practice, physical training, or test flying my jetpack, I was reading scripture in my room. Scripture! I glanced at the Bible on the floor, my dad's name embossed in silver on the cover. David Rivers. These stories had been read to me all my life. Every year in Sunday school, the teacher had made the rounds. Creation, the flood, Moses, Samson, David and Goliath, and on and on. What did they expect me to learn now? The book was thousands of years old, and it wasn't changing today or ever. A fact my trainer, McGarrett Riley, had said should give me comfort. A piece of firewood popped. I could lose hours staring at the hypnotic dance of the flames. A trance might have been precisely what I needed to take my mind off the nightmare, off the helpless feeling that filled me. A knock on my door ended hope of that. "Taylor?" Ike asked. "Come in." I shifted lazily in the chair. The door creaked. Ike's footfalls were soft on the wood floor in his moccasin slippers. "Were you reading?" "Nah." I recalled the nightmare about my father. "Relaxing." Ike stood behind my chair. "I can't sleep," he said. "I know the feeling." Ike paused and then rustled a piece of paper. "I sketched a picture of it for you." He handed me a sketch. "I drew it based on a description in that old journal we found, the HowlSage haunting." I straightened as I looked at the grisly, unsettling image in my hand. "Have you read it yet?" he asked. I paused and swallowed. "No." "You should. You can learn from the mistakes the hunter mentions in the journal. He was a veteran of 20 years before he got, well, maimed." Ike meant well, but the fact a 20-year veteran, despite his experience and training, was maimed in battle was where my mind focused. I was not a veteran. I was hardly a trainee. "If you're gonna bug me, at least bring good news," I growled. My face flushed. Even as the words left my lips, I wanted to take them back. I wasn't angry at Ike. I was... Without a word, his footsteps padded away, and the door shut. I should have gone after him, but that would mean apologizing, and I didn't have time for that right now. I pulled my knees to my chest and stared into the hearth. Scenes from the last few weeks' crash course training flashed through my mind. At my dad's memorial, I had overheard McGarrett talking to the head of our society, Sir Raven Gray. He had the title of Sir because the Queen of England had knighted him. McGarrett had said, "He's the youngest hunter I have ever trained." He seemed unsure of himself, even as he said it as if he had been asking Sir Gray to offer a different trainee instead of me. But Sir Gray had replied, "We believe he is the youngest in all our history, but it is clear Taylor is chosen, and you are the one to train him." McGarrett had looked at me and then straightened when he realized I had been listening to their conversation. He had tried to cover by calling me over for an introduction. It wasn't my youth as much as my lack of experience that put me at a disadvantage, and that's what had seemed most concerning to McGarrett at that moment. The next day, McGarrett had started my formal training to become a demon hunter. He had asked if I wanted to train, but a demon had killed my father, and I wanted revenge, so there wasn't much doubt that I would accept. New ether pits, or rather gateways to the underworld, were opening at an unfathomable pace, faster than ever before. These rapid openings were the reason I had been allowed to train before turning 18. Usually, potential trainees weren't considered for the role of hunter until they had turned 18 and after they had had a minimum of 2 years of training at the academy, followed by a year of field training. I was only 15 with 1 month of training, but the society needed hunters. If unguarded, demons would flood into the world. Ether pits were portals from our world into the supernatural world. The society wasn't sure why they opened where they did, but they knew it was important to establish an outpost near the opening as soon as possible. When an ether pit first opens, a few demons venture through, and if unchecked, more and more come, and soon the area nearby is infested, allowing evil to overcome good, transforming entire cultures from peaceful, God-honoring societies to havens of hate. If the society establishes an outpost and eliminates the demons quickly, the ether pit will often close. Certain times in history were worse than others. The first half of the last century saw a bunch of new ether pit openings and old ether pits reopening. And then in the second half, fewer ether pits opened and many closed. But now these portals to the underworld were opening at an unheard of rate. And right now in October, the demon most likely to rise and lead the infestation was one of the most dangerous. The specific demon I was training to hunt wasn't a run-of-the-mill demon that stole candy and pinched babies to make them cry. No. A HowlSage was one of the deadliest and most powerful demons to walk the earthly realm. The HowlSage embodied the fierce qualities and abilities of a wolf, with the strength of 10 men. But none of that mattered. What mattered was getting revenge for my dad's death. And to do that, we had to banish the demon, find out who had summoned the HowlSage, and make sure they could never do it again. Whoever it was who had beckoned the beast, we called them the Cloak, because that was all we had seen that night through my dad's video feed. A dark figure in a dark cloak. Not much to go on, and we were already out of time. The next full moon was in 2 days, October 3rd. HowlSagen, also known as more than one HowlSage, rose only on the full moon before a full moon appearing on Halloween. A full moon on Halloween was never a guarantee a HowlSage would rise. Still, with the increase in goblin activity at the old coal mine tunnels and the presence of the Cloak, a HowlSage rising was likely. My dad had discovered the den for the HowlSage the Cloak had built. The den had all the ceremonial items used to raise a HowlSage on the full moon. But before my dad could destroy it or tell us the den's location, he had been killed. When we went back, his body was nowhere. I still wasn't over that. I didn't even have the chance to lay him to rest. We had searched for the HowlSage den, but it must have relocated. Now we didn't know where the HowlSage would rise. The mines were extensive and stretched throughout the mountain range that cast shadows on our little town of Ashley Meadows. And since I was still in training, McGarrett wouldn't let me explore alone, killing any chance of finding the new nest before the HowlSage rose. I stared at Ike's sketch. So this was a HowlSage. "I'll find you," I whispered. "And then I'll banish you." I crumpled the drawing and chucked it into the flames.